All right, so let's take a look at this one. We're starting with number 1. We're going to go over all the questions in this quiz, in this drill, to make sure you understand all the questions and how to do them. Okay, so let's start off with number 1. It says, a man buys a shirt for $20, a pair of pants for $38, and a pair of shoes for $42. The pants and shoes have a 30% discount, and the shirt does not have a discount. How much does the man spend on all 3 items once the discounts are applied? Okay, so the question is asking us for how much does the man spend after the discounts are applied, right? So we have $20 plus $38 and $42. Those are the 3 items he buys. $20 for the shirt, $38 for the pants, $42 for the shoes. The pants, which is $38, and the shoes, which are $42, have a 30% discount. The shirt does not have a discount. That means that these 2 right here, we're going to get 30% off of these. Okay, so let's add them up. 38 plus 42, that gives us 8 plus 2 is 10, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 4 is 8. So $80 on the pants and the shoes. Let's find 30% amount, so we can figure out what the discount is, and we can figure out what the price is going to be after discount. So we're going to say $80 as our whole. 100 always goes here. We're going to put 30% here, because that's what we want to find. That's the discount. And we're going to put an X there, and that X is going to give us the number, the amount that is discounted. Not the price, but the amount that is discounted. So now we have 2 fractions equal to each other. Let's cross multiply. 100 times X is 100X. 80 times 30, we do 8 times 3 is 24. And there's 1, 2 zeros. Now I'm going to divide by 100. I cancel this out here. And I'm going to cancel out the zeros that they have in common. I'm left with X equals $24. That's the number of the discount. That's the amount of the discount. What is the price of this? We're going to subtract it. 80 minus 24. So I'm going to make this 10, and I'm going to make this 7 because I borrowed. 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 minus 2 is 5. So the price of these 2 items is actually $56. Plus the 20 of the shirt that doesn't have a discount, that's $76. And that is our answer. I hope you got it. If not, feel free to pause or go back and just watch it again. If you're ready, I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to erase this so that I have some space to work out number 2. So number 2 says, Justin earns $400 a week at his current job. He applies and interviews for a job that is offering him 15% more pay per week. If he gets a new job, how much more would Justin earn at his new job each week? So this new job is 15% more. This is a little bit different, and I'm going to show you how to do it because it's an important question. It says here, his total is $400. And his job, the new job, doesn't pay him 15%. It pays him 15% more than what he makes here. So what he makes here is 100. And if we take 100 and we add 15% more, that gives us 115%. Because it's the 100, the full $400, plus 15% more. So let's put 115% here. We want to know how much 115% more is. And that's what that X is going to represent. Okay? What is the question asking us for? How much more would Justin earn at his new job each week? So let's cross multiply. 100 times X is 100X. 115 times 400, that's a bigger number, so I'm actually going to work that one out with you. 115 times 400. 0, 0, 0. Placeholder 0. 0, 0, 0. 2 placeholder zeros. Now I can multiply the 4. 4 times 5 is 20. I put a 0, carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and 4 times 1 is 4. So now I'm going to add everything up, and I get 46,000. That's a big number, so let me make more space for myself. There's going to be 100x equals 46,000. I'm going to divide by 100, because I want to get the x by itself, and I'm going to eliminate the zeros that they have in common in the top and the bottom. And that gives me x equals 460. Does it ask me how much he's going to make? No. The question asks me how much more will he make. So now that I know how much he will make, I'm going to subtract how much he makes now at his current job, and that gives me $60. He's going to make $60 more a week at his new job. This question, the reason I like it so much is because this question forces you to really look at the details of the words. And that's where people get a lot of questions wrong. So make sure you're paying attention to the detail of the words in the questions, okay? When you're ready, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to erase all this to make space for myself. Okay, perfect. Okay, number 3. It says, last month car sales were 412,000. If this month car sales are 15.5% more than last month, what are the sales for this month? So this question is similar to the last one because it's a percent more, okay? Which means we're going to have to add it to 100 again. Our whole is still 412,000. And 100 still always goes down here. And we want to find, this question says, what are the sales for this month? This means the sales with the month that has 15.5% more. So we want to find a number that is 15.5% more. Well, we have 100, which is the 412,000, plus the 15.5% more. That gives me 115.5. But I don't like fractions because they make it kind of difficult to multiply. So I'm going to make this a decimal. How do I make this a decimal? Well, a half as a decimal is 0.5, which means that this is going to be 115.5. Now, what if you don't know that? What if you don't know that a half is 0.5? Well, then what you would do is you would divide the numerator by the denominator, and that would give you the number as a decimal, okay? I'm not going to do all that, because we have other things to do, but I am going to put 115.5% here for myself, okay? Now, 100 times x is 100x, but these numbers here are big, so I'm actually going to work this out with you, and I'm going to do like this, 412,000 times 115.5. Now, if you remember from our lesson with decimals and multiplying with decimals, when we multiply with decimals, we treat it like it's just a normal multiplication problem, and we don't worry about, lining up decimals or anything like that. That's not going to get us the answer. So what we actually do is we multiply normal, and then we add the decimal later. So 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 2, 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1. Actually, let me bring this down. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, and 5 times 4 is 20. Next one, 0 for our placeholder. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 2, 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1, 5 plus 1 is 6, and 5 times 4 is 20. All right, now for the next one, we're going to put two placeholder zeros. Now the ones. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times 4, 4. For the last one, we have to do three placeholder zeros. And we're going to do 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 0, 0. And we're going to do 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times 4, 4. 0, 0, 0, 0. 6, 8, 5, 7, 4. And there's one number behind the decimal point because there's one number behind the decimal point in my question. So now let's transfer this big old number down here. And we're going to do it carefully because it's a big number. So it's going to be 4, 7, 8, 5, 6, 0, 0, 0. Now I'm going to divide this by 100. So I can isolate the x, eliminate two zeros that it has in common, and I'm left with x equals 4. Oh, I switched these numbers. Look at me. Hold on. 4, 7, 5, 8, 6, 0, 0, 0. And I said to copy carefully, and I didn't. 4, 7, 5, 8, 6, 0. So $475,860. And that's my answer. I hope you got it. This question, what makes it challenging is this big old multiplication right here. Otherwise, once you know that if you're going to add or it's going to be a percent more than the original, you add it to 100, these questions become easy, okay? All right, move on to number 4. Number 4 says, a man runs 8 miles on Monday and wants to increase the miles he runs each day by 20%. If he continues this each day, how many miles does he run on Thursday? Okay, so let's make a little calendar because we want to get to the number of miles on Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He ran 8 on Monday. And he increases 20% each day. So we're going to do, if it increases, it's going to be what? 100 plus that percent, right? So let's do 8. We're going to do a couple of these. 8, we want to know the number that is 120% more. 100 plus the 20, right? So 100x, 120 times 8, 0, 16, 916. Divided by 100, we cancel out the zeros. And now we have to do 96 divided by 10. 10 goes into 96 9 times. 10 times 9 is 90. 96 minus 90 is 6. I have a number left over, so I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. And if I add a decimal, I have to add a decimal to the top also. I'm going to bring down that 0. 10 goes into 60 6 times. 10 times 6 is 60. No more numbers left over. No more numbers to bring down. I'm done. Which means Tuesday he ran 9.6 miles. I'm going to erase this because guess what? I have to do it again and find out the number for Wednesday. So now 9.6. I'm finding 120% of that right there. Okay? So 100x equals 9.6 times 120. Let's work it out up here. Remember, we leave the decimals alone until it's time to get the answer. So 0, 12, carry the 1, 7, 0 placeholder. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 2, 18, plus 1, 10. 0, 2, 7 plus 8 is 15, carry the 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, and that's an 11. So 1, 1, 5, 2, 0. And there's one number behind the decimal point. So actually we can get rid of this 0. And we're left with 1152. Now we're going to divide this number by 100. Okay? And, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I'm going to do that. And we're going to, we can't cross out any zeros, so we just have to divide normal. 100 goes into 115 one time. I subtract and I get 15. I bring down that 2. 100 goes into 152 one time. I subtract 100, and I'm left with 52. Because I'm left over with a number, I have to put a decimal point. And if I put a decimal point here, I have to put it up here also. And I add a 0. And this becomes 520. So 100 goes into 520 5 times. That's 500. I get 20. I don't have enough space, so let me just do that real quick. I have a number left over, so I have to put another 0, bring it down. 100 goes into 200 2 times. Times 2 is 200. No more numbers left over. No more numbers to bring down. I'm done. So Wednesday, he runs 11.52. Now, it's asking us for Thursday, so we got to do this one more time. I know this is a long question, but it's making us really good at percentages, so we're going to do it. 11.52. We're going to find out what 120% of that is over 100. So 100x equals. I'm going to do 1152 times 120. Remember, we don't do anything about the decimal until the end. So 0 goes into 0 times 2, 0, 0, 0, 0. Everything is 0. Placeholder 0. 2 times 2, 4. 2 times 5, 10, carry the 1. 2 times 1, 3. Sorry, 2 plus 1 is 3. And 2 times 1 is 2. Now the 1. I put 2 placeholder zeros. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 5, 5. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times 1, 1. Now I add it all up. 0, 4, 2, 8, 3, 1. And I have two numbers behind the decimal point. So this is 138, 2.4. Now I'm going to divide this by 100, and there are no zeros to cancel out, so I have to divide again. So I'm going to do this. 1382.4. 100 goes into 138 one time. 1 times 100 is 100. I subtract and I get 38. I bring down the 2. 100 goes into 382 3 times. 382 minus 300 is 82. I put my decimal point because to be able to bring down the next number, I have to go past the decimal point. So I put that up there, and then I can bring down my 4. 100 goes into 824 8 times. So 100 times 8 is 824. Bring down my 0. 100 goes into 242 times. Let me move this and make space for myself. 100 times 2 is 200. Left with 40. Add another 0 so we don't have a number left over. 100 goes into 400. 4 times 400. We don't have a 0 left over. We are finally done with this division problem. And that gives me 13.824 miles. It doesn't say 13.824, but it does say 13.8. And that is our correct answer. That was a tough one. That was a tough one because we had to find the percent again, and again. And we had to work with decimals, which may be something you're uncomfortable with. But you got some really good practice in working with decimals today. If you weren't able to do it and you had to watch me do it, pause this video and try to do it now that you've seen the explanation, okay? Or go back and watch it again to make sure you get it right this time. If you're ready, I'm going to move on to the next one, and I have to erase a lot to make space now to be able to do number 5. So number 5. Let me do this. Okay, perfect. So it says, there are 720 people in a 3-day conference. On the first day of the conference, 100% of the attendees were present. On the second day, only 80% of the attendees were present. And on the third day of the conference, there were half the number of attendees as the second day. How many people attended the conference on the third day? So we're looking for the number of people on the third day. So let's do a little calendar like we did for the last one. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Day 1 says 100% of the attendees were there, and there were 720 people. So that means day 1 is 720. It says on the second day, or day 2, there were 80% of the attendees present. So let's find 80% of the 720. 720, 80%, that's the number I want to find. 100 always goes here. 100 times x is 100x. 720 times 80, let's work that one out. 0 times 0, 0, 0, and 0. Placeholder 0. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 2 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 1 is 57. 0, 0, 6, 7, 5. Okay? Now that I have that number, I can divide by 100. I can eliminate zeros that aren't common. Look how much easier this is, right, than the other ones. And that means that x is 576. Now, it says on the third day of the conference, there were half the number of attendees as the second day. How do we find half of something? We divide it by 2. So let's take this 576 and let's divide it by 2. 2 goes into 5 2 times. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 7. 2 goes into 17 8 times. Let me give myself a little space here. 2 times 8 is 16. 17 minus 16 is 1. Bring down the other one. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 times 8 is 16. We're done. There's nothing left over. There's nothing to bring down. So day 3 had 288 attendees. So this is my answer. I hope you got it. This one was a lot easier than the last one. So maybe after doing that last one, this one's just, you got it and it was easy. If you didn't get to do it at all, or maybe you got it wrong, try to do it again now that you saw the explanation. Okay? So if you're ready, let me erase and make some space. And we're going to move on to number 6. It says, John graded 420 assignments last week. He input 2/3 of those assignments into his grade record. If 75% of the grades he input are A's, how many A's were added to his grade record? So it says, he graded 420 assignments, but he only put 2/3 of them into the grade record. And it's asking how many A's were put into his grade record. Well, not 420 were put into the grade record. So first thing we want to do is find out the number that was put into the grade record, and then we can find the percentage of that, okay? So how do we find a fraction of something? We find the fraction of something by multiplying it by that fraction. So 420 times 2/3, which means 420 times 2, 0, 4, 8. And then this number divided by 3. So 3 goes into 840. 3 goes into 8 2 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. Bring down the 4. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 minus 24 is 0. But I still have a 0 to bring down, so I bring it down. 3 goes into 0 0 times. So what is 2/3 of 420? It is 280. This is the number of grades that he put into the grade book, or into the grade record, sorry. So now it tells us 75% of the grades he inputs are A's. So we're going to find 75% of this number. We're finding 75% of this number. 100 times x is 100x. 280 times 75 is some number that we're going to calculate right now. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. 0. Placeholder 0, and then 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 8 is 56. Carry the 5. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus 5 is 19. And now I'm going to add stuff up, and I get 21,000. I divide by 100. And when I do that, I can eliminate the zeros that they have in common, and I'm left with x equals 210. This is the number of A's, which is exactly what the question is asking me for, which means I'm done. And this is correct. Okay, let me erase and make some space. Verse 7, it says, Karen purchased several items at a department store. She purchased 3 blouses for $29 and a necklace for $38. The blouses have a 40% discount and the necklace has a 10% discount. How much does Karen spend on all the items? So I'm going to break this up into 2 pieces. She has the blouses and she has the necklace and then she has her total. So the blouses, it says that they're $29 each and she purchased 3 of them. So 29 times 3. 3 times 9 is 27. We put a 7, carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So she spends $87. But it says here the blouses have a 40% discount. So let's find that discount amount. So we're going to find 40%. X times 100 is 100x. And 87 times 40, I'm going to do it over here because I don't know it off the top of my head. 0, 0, placeholder 0. 4 times 7 is 28, but the 8 carry the 2. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 2 is 34. So 34, 8, 0. Now we're going to divide it by 100. I can eliminate one of these zeros. Remove this. And I'm left with 348 divided by 10. 10 goes into 34 3 times. 10 times 3 is 30. Bring down that 4. 4 minus 0 is 4. Now I'm going to bring down the 8. 10 goes into 48 4 times. 10 times 4 is 40. 48 minus 40 is 8. I have a number left over, so I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0. 10 goes into 80 8 times. 80 minus 80, 0. So the discount on the blouses is $34.80. How much does she actually spend on the blouses then? $87 minus $34.80. 0 minus 0, I'm going to borrow from here. 10 minus 8 is 2. 6 minus 4 is 2. 8 minus 3 is 5. So the blouses cost her $52.20. Okay, we still have to add the cost of the necklace. So let's erase all this. Make some space. The necklace is $38 and it has a 10% discount. So I'm going to do this. 100. I'm going to take off a 10% discount. 100 times x is 100x. 38 times 10 is 380. I'm going to divide by 100 to isolate the x, and I can get rid of a 0 on the top and the bottom. So I'm left with 38 divided by 10. So 10 goes into 38 3 times. 10 times 3 is 30. 38 minus 30 is 8. I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0 and bring down that 0. So 10 goes into 80 8 times. 80 minus 80 is 0. So the discount is $3.80. So I have $38 minus $3.80. 0 minus 0 is 0. I have to borrow to do this one. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 7 minus 3 is 4. And 3 minus 0 is 3. So $34.20 for the necklace. Now I'm going to add it all up. For some reason it's not working. Let me do it up here. 52.20 plus 34.20. 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 2 is 4. Bring down the decimal point. 2 plus 4 is 6. And 5 plus 3 is 8. My total is $86.40. I hope that made sense to you. Okay, so number 8. It says, a farmer planted corn on 7.5 acres of land. Several months later, he harvested 90% of that land for commercial sale. How many acres does he harvest for commercial sale? So we need to find 90% of 7.5. So first of all, this 7.5, that has a fraction, and we're not usually comfortable with fractions. So it's easier to multiply with a decimal. So I'm going to convert this to a decimal. So 7 and 1/2. The 1/2, what I do is I do 1 divided by 2. I take that fraction and I divide the numerator by the denominator, and that gives me my decimal. So 2 goes into 1 0 times. Add a decimal, add a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. So this becomes 7.5 because 1/2 is 0.5. Okay, so now that we have this number, now we can plug this into our equation. We want to find 90% of 7.5. So 7.5 is a whole, and we're looking for 90% of it. 100 always goes here. So let's start multiplying stuff. X times 100 is 100x. And 7.5 times 90, we're going to do down here. 0, 0, placeholder 0. 9 times 5 is 45. I put the 5, carry the 4. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 4 is 67. And add it all up. And now there's one number behind the decimal point in the question, which means there'll be one number behind the decimal point in the answer. So 675. We don't have to put the 0, we can just leave it like that, okay? Now we're going to divide this by 100, so we can isolate the x and solve for x. And now I'm going to do 675 divided by 100. 100 goes into 675 6 times. 100 times 6 is 600. You have 75. I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. And because I added a decimal down here, I add one up here also. And I'm going to bring down that 0. So 100 goes into 750 7 times. 100 times 7 is 700. 750 times minus 700 is 50. Let's add another 0. Bring that 0 down. 100 goes into 500 5 times. 100 times 5 is 500. We're done. We don't have anything left over. Our answer is 6.75. And I know I wrote over everything, so let me erase it so we can actually see correctly or clearly. 6.75. Okay? What makes this one a little more challenging, and they're going to keep getting a little more challenging, is the fractions. So whenever we see a fraction, you have to do a lot of multiplication and stuff like that. Just, turn it into a decimal, and it'll be easy to work with. So let's look at number 9. Let me make a little space. Number 9 says, Miss Jackson's rent during the past year was $14,400. Her rent was 30% of her income last year. What was Miss Jackson's total income last year? So this question is interesting because it doesn't give you a whole, it gives you a part. It's saying that this was 30% of her income. The income is the whole, this is the part. Okay, so the equation is actually going to look like this. 14,400 over x. X represents your total income. 30% goes up here because the question says that the rent is 30% of the income. So this 30% is the same out of 100 as the rent is out of the income. Okay, I'm going to cross multiply. X times 30 is 30x. And 14,400 times 100, I just add 2 more zeros at the end. Okay, I'm going to divide by 30 to be able to isolate the x. I can cross out a 0 top and bottom, which I love to do, so I'm happy about that. And now I'm going to divide. So let's make sure we get the right number of zeros because that part's important. It looks like it's 1, 4, 4, and then 3 zeros at the end. So 144,000 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 14 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. We're going to bring down the 4. 3 goes into 24 8 times. Let me make some space here. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 3 times 8, 24. 24 minus 24, 0. I still have numbers left over, so I'm not finished. I have to bring down each 0. 0, 3 goes into 0 0 times. Another 0, 3 goes into 0 0 times. And the last 0, 3 goes into 0 0 times. So the answer is $48,000, which is this one right here. Okay, sounds good. If you're ready, let's move on to the next one. It says, a new car depreciates 28 1/3% after the first year of use. If a new car costs $41,000, how much will it cost after a year of use? So we have to find the 28 1/3% of $41,000 and subtract it from $41,000 because it says it depreciates, which means it loses value. Okay, so we're going to find that percent, we're going to find the value of it, and then we're going to subtract it, and that'll give us our answer, okay? Because it's asking how much will it cost. So it's the value or the cost after the year. So let's find it. All right, so 41,000, we're looking for 28 1/3. Wait a second, 28 1/3. That's weird. Let's go ahead and divide that fraction. So it becomes a decimal. So 1 divided by 3. 3 cannot go into 1, so we're going to put a 0, and we're going to add a decimal. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. We add another 0. Bring it down. 3 goes into 10 3 times. It looks like this is going to keep repeating. 10 minus 9 is 1. So we're going to stop here. So let's call it 28.3. Okay? So now that we have that, let's cross multiply. 100 times x is 100x. And 41,000 times 28.3 is the number we have to work out. So let's do 41,000 times 28.3. Let's move that over. Okay, so 3 times 0, 0. 3 times 0, 0. 3 times 0, 0. 3 times 1, 3. 3 times 4, 12. Space holder 0. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 1, 8. 8 times 4, 32. Now, 2 placeholder zeros. 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 1, 2. 2 times 4, 8. Now, let's go ahead and add everything up. 0, 0, 0, 3, 10, carry the 1, 6, 11. There's one number behind the decimal point, so there's one number behind the decimal point in the answer. So now we have 1160300. Let's go ahead and divide by 100. And when we do that, we isolate the x. And look at that, we can get rid of some zeros, and that simplifies it to be $11,603. $11,603. Now this is the issue. The issue here is that that's what that says here. But that's not what the answer is asking us for. It's asking us for what the car will cost after a year of use. So we have to actually subtract that number from 41,000. So we have to borrow. We can't. So we take it from the first one that has something. This one becomes 10, but the other one needs to borrow, so it becomes 9. And this one becomes 10, but the other one has to borrow, also becomes 9. This one becomes 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 0, 9. 9 minus 6, 3. I can't do 0 minus 1, so I have to borrow again, and this becomes 10. 10 minus 1, 9. And 3 minus 1, 2. 29,397. This is my actual answer here. Okay, this one was a little confusing, so make sure you understood what to do. If you didn't, don't give up. Just go back and rewatch it. Try it on your own, see where you messed up. And when you're ready, let's move on to the next one. Number 11. It says, a man's life insurance policy granted his family $650,000. Of that total, 66 2/3 is allotted to his wife. How much does his wife receive from the insurance policy? Okay, we have a fraction here again. This is like the fraction section. 66 2/3. So let's take this and divide. 3, 2 divided by 3. 3 goes into 2 0 times. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. So it looks like if I do this, I'm just going to keep repeating it. So I'm going to do this and write it as 66.6. I'm not going to keep repeating it because that's a lot of work. And even if it's off by like $1 or 2 at the end, it's going to be almost the same amount, okay? So this is our percent now. And it says that the wife gets that much, and we want to know how much she gets. So let's just do a straightforward percent equation. So 650,000 We don't know what the part is, but we know that it's 66.6% of the total, and 100 always goes here. So we get 100x is equal to, we have to multiply that now, 650,000 times 66.6. 6 times 0, 0. 6 times 0, 0. 6 times 0, 0. It's 4 zeros. Now, 6 times 5, 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 6, 36 plus 3, 39. Okay, they're all going to be the same number. So I'm going to do this. Put the placeholder 0. I know it's going to be 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 0, 9, and 3. One more time. 2 placeholder zeros this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, 9, and 3. And I'm going to add it all up. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 9, 12, carry the 1. 13, carry the 1. 4. And there's one number behind the decimal point. So in my answer, there'll be one number behind the decimal point. So let's put it over here. 4, 3, 2, 9. 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one is behind the decimal point, so we don't have to write it down. Now we're going to divide by 100 so we can isolate the x. And I'm actually going to erase all this so we can see our answer choices. Divide by 100, and I get to eliminate some zeros, which is my favorite. So x is equal to 432,900, which is $432,900. And there it is. Okay. These bigger numbers might be harder to work with, but it's still the same equation, still the same way of doing things. I hope you got it. When you're ready, let's look at number 12. So number 12 says, an airplane leaving for Louisville has a capacity of 190 passengers. If 80% of the airplane seats are occupied, how many empty seats are there on the plane? So let's look at what our equation is going to look like. We know that there are 190 seats for 190 people. And we know 100 goes here. Now, it says that 80% of the airplane seats are occupied. So out of those 190, only 80% of them are being used. It's asking us for the number of empty seats. So we're looking for empty seats. What's the percent of empty seats? Is it 80? No, 80 is the seats that are used, occupied, out of 100. That means that 20% of them, this is percents, are empty. So if I want to find the number of empty seats, then I have to put the percent of empty seats. So that's why I'm going to put 20 and not 80. Now I'm going to cross multiply. 100 times x is 100x. 190 times 20, let's do it over here. 0, 0, 0, placeholder 0. 2 times 0, 0. 2 times 9 is 18. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So we have 3,800. Divided by 100. Divided by 100. This cancels out. X equals 38 empty seats. Alright, I hope you got that. Take your time. When you're ready, let's move on to the next one. It says, 30,000 people are registered for a marathon. 92% of the runners complete the race and cross the finish line. If 55% of the runners that complete the race are male, how many males cross the finish line? So with this one, we have two percentages, which means we have to take each percent separately. We cannot take them together. We have to do the percentage separately. So we're going to start with the 92%. Why? Because the first one is a percent of the total people registered for the marathon. And the second one, 55%, is from the new total. Okay? So how many people crossed the finish line? Well, 30,000 of them started. 92% of those people crossed the finish line. 100 goes down here. And this will give us the percent of people that cross the finish line. So x times 100, 100x. 92 times 30,000. Let's do that up here. Okay, so 2 times 0 is 0. So I'm just going to do 0, 0, 0, 0. 2 times 3, 6. Now I do a placeholder 0. Here, 9 times 0 is going to be 0. So I'm going to put 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 9 times 3, 27. Add it up. Okay. Bring that number down here. Divide by 100. I get x equals 27600. This is the number of people that cross the finish line. Is this my answer? No. Because it's asking out of those people how many males. So now I have to find 55% of this new number. So I'm going to erase to make some space, and I have a new equation. My new whole is 27,600. And I want to find 55% of that, because that's the percentage of males. So now x times 100, 100x. 27,600 times 55. Well, let's do the math real quick. 27,600 times 55. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 6, 30. Carry the 3. 5 times 7, 35, plus 3 is 38. Carry the 3. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. I'm going to do a placeholder, and I'm going to do it again. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 6, 30. Carry the 3. 5 times 7, 35 plus 3, 38. Carry the 3. 5 times 2, 10, plus 3, 13. So 0, 0, 0. I'm adding everything up. 8. 3 plus 8 is 11. 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. 15, 18. 0, 0, 0. So 15, 18, 3 zeros. Okay, now we're going to divide this by 100. We're almost there. We cancel out 2 zeros. X equals 15,180, which is A for the first one. Okay, so careful with that. Make sure you are really paying attention to what you're calculating, and you know exactly what you're looking for, because sometimes a middle answer is not the total complete answer, but it's an answer choice. So be careful with that. That's actually a really, really common mistake. Okay, so let's do number 14. It says, Jen wants to book a flight to Cancun. On Monday, the flights were priced at $280. When she checked the price again on Thursday, the price of the flight increased by 24.75%. What was the price of the flight to Cancun on Thursday? So here we have a percent again that has a fraction. So let's take that fraction and let's turn it into a decimal. So 3 divided by 4. 4 goes into 3, 0 times. Put a 0. 4 goes into 30, 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Let's add another 0 and bring it down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. How did I know to keep going, to keep adding zeros? I kept going until what's left is a 0. Okay, so I end up with 0.75. So this is 24.75. Okay, so now that I have that, now I can do my equation. $280. We want to find 24.75% of that. When we find this 24.75%, we're going to add it to 280 because it says that it increased by that much. So I just want you to know where we're headed. Okay, we're gonna solve for x, but then we have to add that number to 280. So 100 times x is 100x, and 24.75 times 280. Hold on, I didn't give myself enough space there. Okay, so the 0 times everything obviously is 0. So I'm just gonna put 4 zeros. Placeholder 0. Now we start with 8. 8 times 5 is 40, so I put a 0, carry the 4. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 4 is 60, so I put a 0, carry the 6. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 6 is 38, carry the 3. And 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3 is 19. Now cross these out. Now I put 2 placeholder zeros. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, carry another 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And 2 times 2 is 4. So I'm not going to add everything up, and then I'm going to remember that there's a decimal here. So let's add things up. 0, 0, 0. 8 plus 5 is 13, so put a 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 9 is 19. So put a 9, carry the 1. And 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 4 is 6. There are 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the question, which means that in the answer there are 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So x is equal to, 100x is equal to 6930. Now I'm going to divide by 100. This cancels out 1 0, and I'm left with 693 divided by 10. So 10 goes into 69 6 times. 10 times 6 is 60. Subtract and I get 9 left over. I bring down the 3. 10 goes into 93 9 times. 10 times 9 is 90. 93 minus 90 is 3. I'm going to add a decimal and a 0 because I have a 3 left over and I want to have a 0 left over. So I bring down that 0. 10 goes into 30 3 times. 10 times 3 is 30. 30 minus 30 is 0. So x is equal to 69.3. Now, is that my answer? No, it's not. My answer is 280 plus that because it says it increased. So let's add them up. 280 plus 69.30. I'm going to add a decimal and 2 zeros. Sorry. So 0, 3, bring down the decimal. 9. 8 plus 6 is 14, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. The answer is 349.30. Okay? So that one was a little challenging because there's a lot of decimals and extra math to do, but the equations are still the same and straightforward. Let's look at our last question for this quiz. When you're ready, I'm going to go over number 15. It says, there are 120 chocolates in a box. Stephanie ate 17.5% of the chocolates in the box. How many chocolates are left in the box? Well, once again, we have a percent that has a fraction. So we already know 2 goes into 1 0 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So this is 17.5. So now that we've converted that, we want to know how many chocolates are left in the box. This gives us the percent that she ate. So we can solve it and understand that this gives us the number that she ate. So then we would have to subtract it, okay? So let's cross multiply. 100x is equal to 120 times 17.5. We're going to do a key here. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 2, 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1, 5. Plus 1 is 6. Placeholder 0. 7 times 0, 0. 7 times 2, 14. Carry 1. 7 times 1, 7. Plus 1, 8. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Now the last one. 2 placeholder zeros this time. 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 1, 1. Now I can add it up. So 0, 0, 6 plus 4 is 10, so put a 0, carry 1. 1 plus 8 is 9, 9 plus 2 is 11, so put a 1, carry a 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And remember, there's one number behind the decimal point in that question, so there'll be one number behind the decimal point in the answer. So we put 2100 here. I'm going to divide by 100 to isolate the x. I cross out 2 zeros because they have it in common, and I get x equals 21. So that's how many she ate. It's a lot of chocolate, Stephanie. Totally okay, we're not judging you. So 120 minus 21, I borrow from here and make this one a 10. 10 minus 1, 9. I can't do that, so I borrow from here and make this one 11. 11 minus 2, 9. So how many chocolates are left in the box? There are 99 chocolates left in the box. All right, we are done. I hope that was helpful. If you have questions about any of the steps, just leave a comment below and I'd love to help you with it. Good luck.
so let's go ahead and take a look at how to do the questions from the quiz in the algebra word problem review lesson. In this first question, we have the sum of four consecutive numbers is 626. What is the smallest of the four numbers? So the key word here is consecutive. Consecutive means one after the other. So if we pretend for a second that the first number is x, the next consecutive number would be whatever x is plus 1. And the next number would be whatever that was, x plus 1, plus another 1. And the next number would be whatever that previous number was, plus 1. So we have the sum of the four consecutive numbers, so we're going to add all of these together, and they have to equal to 626. We can go ahead and combine like terms, so we're going to combine these four x's, and we're going to combine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we have the equation 4x plus 6 is equal to 626. We subtract 6 from both sides, leaving us with 4x is equal to 620. We divide both sides by 4, and now we can go ahead and do the division of 620 by 4. This would fit once, giving me 4. I bring down the 2, that would fit 5 times, giving me 20. I would bring down the 0, and that would fit 5 times again. So finally our answer would be 155, and since x was the first number, that means the smallest out of all of them would be 155. In this problem, it says the sum of two consecutive odd numbers is 64. What are the two numbers? So here we are dealing with consecutive, which means one after the other, but we're focusing on just odd numbers. So to give you an idea, let's say 1 would be the first number, the next consecutive number would be 2, but 2 is even, and you want an odd number. So the next consecutive odd number would be 3. To go from 1 to 3, you have to add 2. So let's say, for example, the first number is x. The next consecutive odd number would be whatever x was, plus 2. Now the problem says to do the sum of these two values, and it has to equal to 64. We can combine like terms, and we get that 2x plus 2 is equal to 64. We subtract 2 from both sides, and we get 2x is equal to 62. We divide both sides by 2, and now we have 62 divided by 2. 2 fits into 6 3 times, giving me 6. I bring down the 2, and that would fit once. So x is equal to 31. But that's just the first number, and the question was asking us for what are the two numbers. So to get the second number, we can go ahead and just say, well, what's the next odd number after 31? It would be 31 plus 2, which would make the next number 33. So the two consecutive odd numbers would be 31 and, 31 and 33. In this next problem, we have one number is 8 more than half of another number. So one number, let's say x, is 8 more than half another number means whatever the other number was divided by 2. Now the sum of these two numbers, so the sum of x and y, has to be 23. Here we can use substitution, meaning that we're going to take this equation and we're going to substitute it in here. So our equation would now become 8 plus y divided by 2 plus y equals to 23. Now I know fractions can be a bit nerve-wracking, so if you want to get rid of this fraction, all you need to do is multiply the entire equation times the denominator. Now keep in mind, you are going to multiply this on both sides of the equation. So we're going to have 16 plus this 2 and this 2 cancel each other, leaving you just y, plus 2y is equal to 46. We can combine like terms, and that would give us that 16 plus 3y is equal to 46. We subtract 16 from both sides, and we get that 3y is equal to 30. We divide both sides by 3, and it turns out that y is equal to 10. But they want to know what both numbers are. So now let's get x. We have an equation that tells us that x is equal to 8 more than half the other number. So now that we know that y is 10, I'm going to replace it here. So I'll have that x is equal to 8 more than 10 divided by 2 is 5, so x will equal to 13. So the two numbers are 10 and 13. In this problem, it says, Pam is 6 years older than Sue. 6 years ago, Pam was twice as old as Sue. What is the sum of their ages now? Well, let's piece it all together. Let's focus first on the now. Right now, Pam is 6 years more than Sue. Now, if we go 6 years ago, we have to deduct 6 from both Pam and Sue because they were 6 years younger. So it says that 6 years ago, Pam, so Pam minus 6, was twice as old as Sue, but Sue also was 6 years younger. So now we can use substitution. We can go ahead and take this and substitute it here. So our equation will be 6 plus s minus 6 is equal to 2 times s minus 6. When we combine 6 and negative 6, it will give us 0, so we're left with just s is equal to. When we distribute this 2, we get 2s minus 12. Now you don't want to have the variable on both sides of the equation, so let's go ahead and just put it on one side. I'm going to move it to the left by subtracting 2s from both sides. That will leave me with negative 1s is equal to negative 12. And now I divide both sides by negative 1, and I get that Sue is 12 years old. But the question is asking me for the sum of their ages. So now that I know Sue is 12 years old, I need to find out how old Pam is. Pam is 6 years older than Sue. So since I know that Sue is 12, I can plug that in, and I get that Pam is going to be 18. So my final answer will be 18 plus 12. That would be 10, carry the 1, that would be 30. So the sum of their ages would be 30. This problem states the sum of two digits is 78. So we take two digits, we add them, and it has to equal to 78. It says that one number, let's say x, is twice the other. So x is going to be 2 times the other number. What is the product of the two numbers? So our first task is to find the value of x and y, and to get our final answer, we have to multiply the values. So here we can use substitution. I can take this and replace it here. So instead of writing x, I'm going to write 2y plus y is equal to 78. I combine my terms, and I get that 3y is equal to 78. I divide both sides by 3, and we have 78 divided by 3. 3 fits into 7 2 times, giving me 6. 1, bring down the 8, and that would be 6. So y is going to equal to 26. But now I need to find the value of x. X is equal to 2 times y. Since y is 26, I can plug that in, and it turns out that x is equal to 52. Now notice that they include 26 and 52 as your answer choices, but they're there to confuse you and trick you because the final answer has to be the product, the multiplication of these two values. So finally, I'm going to multiply 52 times 26. 2 times 6 will be 12, carry the 1. 30 plus 1 is 31. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. So we get 2, 5, 3, 1. So our final answer will be 1,352. This question states that the sum of two unknown numbers is 57. So let's take two unknown numbers, add them, and the answer must be 57. If one number is 3 more than twice the other, so let's say x is the one number, this number has to be 3 more than twice the other, so 2 times the other. What are the two numbers? Here, I can use substitution. I can take this and replace it in here. So instead of writing x, I will have 3 plus 2y plus y is equal to 57. I can combine my terms, which will give me that 3 plus 3y is equal to 57. I subtract 3 from both sides, and I get that 3y is equal to 54. And finally, I divide both sides by 3. So y is going to equal to 54 divided by 3. 3 fits into 5 one time, giving you 3. Subtract gives you 2, bring down the 4. 3 fits into 24 8 times. So y is going to equal to 18. That's our first value. Our next value is y. You can get y by using either one of the equations. I'll go ahead and use the first one. So x plus y, we already know y is 18, has to equal to 57. You subtract 18 from both sides, and we'll get that x is equal to, take 1 away, this becomes 4, this becomes 17. 17 minus 8 is 9, 4 minus 1 is 3. So the value of x is 39, and the value of y is 18. In this problem, it states, a bag contains a total of 250 quarters and dimes. There are a total of $55 inside the bag. How many quarters are there in the bag? So, we have a total of 250 quarters and dimes. So, however many quarters I have, plus however many dimes I have a total of 250. Now, it says that I have a total of $55 in this bag. Each quarter is worth $0.25 for each quarter, plus each dime is worth $0.10. And when we add that up, it has to equal to $55. So here we have two equations. Now, in this problem, we can go ahead and decide, well, I want to use substitution. But in order to use substitution, I need to have one equation with one variable alone. So it's probably going to be easiest to use the first equation and decide which variable I want alone. It won't make too much of a difference which one you choose. Given that the problem wants us to know how many quarters there are in the bag left, I probably want to have that the variable left in the end would have to be quarters. So since I want quarters in the end, I'm going to solve for dime, which means I'm going to have to subtract the quarters from both sides. And this will leave me with dimes is equal to 250 minus however many quarters there were. Now that I have this, I can take this equation and substitute it in here. So my new equation would be 0.25q plus 0.10 times 250 minus q equals to 55. So now as you can see, I'm left with just quarters, which is the variable that I want to have in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 0.10. This is going to give me 0.25q plus 25 minus 0.10q equals to 55. I can combine my terms, and that would give me 0.15q plus 25 is equal to 55. I can subtract 25 from both sides, which would leave me with 0.15q is equal to 30. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 0.15. So to get q, I'm going to have to divide 30 by 0.15. When you're dividing by decimals, the best thing you can do is move the decimal all the way to the end. So since I have to move the decimal here once twice, I'm going to have to move the decimal here once twice. And those empty spots will be filled in with zeros. So now here's what we have. 15 fits into 30 twice. This would be 0, bring down the 0. That's going to be 0. Another 0. Bring down the last 0, and finally 0. So in total, there are 200 quarters in this bag. In this problem, it states, a school sold 500 tickets to a basketball game. Tickets were $10 for adults and $55 for children. If the total revenue was $3,340, how many of each ticket type were sold? So the first equation we're going to set up here has to do with just the number of tickets sold. So there are two types of tickets. There's adult tickets plus the number of children's tickets. And in total, they sold 500. Now, the next equation has to do with the actual price of each ticket. It says that each adult ticket was $10. So $10 multiplied by how many adult tickets we bought or sold, plus each children's ticket was $5. So 5 multiplied by how many children's tickets we sold. And in total, we made $3,340. Now, in this problem, we can use substitution or we can use elimination. I'm going to go ahead and use substitution. To use substitution, I'm going to need to have one equation with one variable isolated. So it doesn't really matter which variable I will isolate. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and take the first equation, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the variable c. So I'm going to subtract a from both sides, so that way c can be alone. And that's going to leave me with c is equal to 500 minus a. Now, given that I have the value of c, I can go ahead and replace it. I can go ahead and replace it here. So my equation will now be 10a plus 5 times 500 minus a equals to 3,340. I can go ahead and distribute the 5. That will give me that 10a plus 2,500 minus 5a is equal to 3,340. We combine my terms, and that will give me 5a plus 2,500 is equal to 3,340. I subtract 2,500 from both sides, and we get that 5a is equal to 048. We divide both sides by 5, and it looks like the number of adult tickets is going to equal to 840 divided by 5. 5 fits into 8 one time. We subtract and we get 3, bring down the 4. 5 fits into 34 6 times, giving me 30. I subtract, I get 4, I bring down the 0, and finally that's going to fit 8 times. So in total, we sold 168 adult tickets. But we also need to know how many children's tickets we sold. Now, the children's tickets, according to my little equation at the beginning, children's ticket is equal to 500 minus the adult tickets, which now we know is 168. So the number of children's tickets will equal to, this will become 4, this will become 9, this will become 10. 10 minus 8, 2. 9 minus 6, 3. 4 minus 1, 3. So we sold 332 children's tickets and 162 adult tickets. In this problem, it states, the sum of two numbers is 107. If one number is 3 more than the other, what are the two numbers? So the first equation we can set up here is that the sum, so two unknown numbers added together, equals to 107. The second equation tells us that one number, let's say x, is 3 more than the other number. I can use substitution here and take this equation and replace it in here. So my new equation would be 3 plus y is equal to 107. We combine my terms and we get that 3 plus 2y is equal to 107. Subtract 3 from both sides, and 2y is equal to 104. Divide both sides by 2. And finally, y is going to equal to 104 divided by 2. 2 fits into 10 5 times. We bring down the 4, and 2 fits into 4 2 times. So one number will be 52. Now the other number, it is said that it was 3 more than the other, so 3 more than 52. So the other number will equal to 55. So our numbers are 52 and 55. In this problem, it states Miguel is 5 years less than twice Nick's age. The sum of their ages is 46. What is the product of their ages? So the first thing we have here is that Miguel is going to equal to 5 years less than twice Nick. So however old Nick is, multiply by 2 and then subtract 5 from it. Now it says that the sum of their ages has to be 46. We can go ahead and do substitution and take this and substitute it in here. So our new equation would be 2n minus 5 plus n is equal to 46. We can combine like terms, and we will get that 3n minus 5 is equal to 46. We add 5 to both sides, and we get that 3n is equal to 51. Now we divide both sides by 3, and it turns out that n is equal to 17. Now notice that they put 17 in your answer choices, but that is to trick you because the final question is asking us for the product of their ages, not just how old Nick is. Now our next job is to find how old is Miguel. Well, Miguel is going to be 5 years less than twice Nick. So if we take 2 times 17 minus 5, that's going to be 34 minus 5, which is going to be 29. So Miguel is 29. And again, they do put that answer choice there to trick you, but that's not your final answer. Your final answer will be the product of their ages. So we're going to take 29 and multiply it by 17. 9 times 7 will be 63. Oopsies. Oh, it's not erasing. Oh, there we go. So we're going to have 63, carry the 6. That's going to be 14 plus 6 will be 20. And then 9 and 2, we add that up, and we get 3, 9, 4. So the product of their ages will be 493. This problem states the sum of 4 consecutive numbers is 142. What is the largest of the 4 numbers? So this is similar to our very first question, except that this time we're not looking for the smallest number, we're looking for the largest. But we're going to solve this the same way. The concept here is consecutive. So let's say the smallest number is x. The next consecutive number would be x plus 1. The next consecutive number would be x plus 1 plus another 1. And the next one would be x plus 1 plus 1 plus another 1. And when we add all 4 of those consecutive numbers together, it has to equal to 142. We combine like terms, and we'll have 4x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 6 is equal to 142. So our equation will be 4x plus 6 equals to 142. We subtract 6 from both sides to get that 4x is equal to 136. We divide both sides by 4, and x will be 136 divided by 4. 4 fits into 13 3 times, giving us 12. That's 1, bring down the 6, and that's going to be 4 times that it fits. So the smallest of these consecutive numbers is 34. But we're looking for the largest of the 4. The largest of the 4, we can get it by taking x plus these 3. So the largest number will be 34 plus 3, which would make it 37. Would be the largest of the consecutive numbers. In this problem, it says the sum of 2 consecutive odd numbers is 80. What are the 2 numbers? So in this problem, we are working with consecutive numbers, but we're focusing on just odd numbers. So instead of just jumping plus 1, we're actually going to jump plus 2. So let's say the first number is x, then the next consecutive odd number would be, the next consecutive number would be x plus 2. That would be the next odd number. Now the sum of these 2 numbers has to equal to 80. We can combine like terms, and we'll get that 2x plus 2 is equal to 80. We subtract 2 from both sides to get that 2x is equal to 78. Now we divide both sides by 2, and we get that x is equal to 78 divided by 2. 2 fits into 7 3 times, giving me 6. 1, bring down the 8, and that would be 9. So the first one of my odd numbers is 39. Now the next one would have to be 2 more than this, so the second odd number would have to be 41. So your odd numbers will be 39 and 41. In this problem, it states the sum of 2 unknown numbers is 108. So we have 2 unknowns, x and y, and we add them, the result is 108. If one number, let's say x, is 3 more than 4 times the other, so 3 more than 4 times the other, what is the product of those numbers? So first we need to find what is x, what is y, and then our final answer will be the multiplication of those 2. So here we can use substitution. We can take this and substitute it here. So our equation will now be 3 plus 4y plus y is equal to 108. We can combine like terms to get that 3 plus 5y is equal to 108. Subtract 3 from both sides, and we'll have that 5y is equal to 105. Divide both sides by 5, and it turns out that y is equal to 105 divided by 5. That would fit in there 2 times, giving me exactly 10, and that would fit exactly 1, giving me exactly 5. So the first number is 21. Now let's find what the second number is. The second number is going to equal to 3 more than 4 times 21. So x will equal to 3 more than 84. So x will equal to 87. Now our final answer is to find the product. So 87 times 21, that would be 7, 8, 14, carry the 1, 16 plus 1 is 17. That would be 7, 12, carry the 1, 8, 1. So your final answer is that the product of these 2 unknowns would be 1,827. In this problem, it states, a movie theater sold 3 times as many children's tickets as adult tickets to a matinee showing. If the total number of tickets sold was 128, how many children's tickets were sold? So it says that we sold 3 times as many children's tickets as adult tickets, which means however many we sold for adults, if you multiply that by 3, that's how many children's you sold. So we're going to have that however many adults you sold, if you multiply that by 3, that tells you how many children's tickets you sold. Now it says that in total, a combination of children's and adults, we sold a total of 128 tickets. We can use substitution here and take this and substitute it for C. So our new equation will be that A plus 3A is equal to 128. We can combine like terms and get that 4A equals to 128. We divide by 4 on both sides. It turns out that A is equal to 128 divided by 4. 4 fits into 12 3 times, and 4 fits into 8 2 times. So the total number of adult tickets sold was 32 tickets. Now you're going to see the answer choice there, but that is not the answer, because if you notice, the question is asking for how many children's tickets. So it's always good practice to double check, what does the question actually want. They will always put the answer choices there to make you think you're done, but always double check the question. So the question says we're looking for children's tickets. So we know that the children's tickets is equal to 3 times the number of adult tickets, which means that the children's tickets will equal to 96 is the total number of children's tickets sold. So this last problem states the sum of two unknown numbers is 44. So the sum of two unknown numbers is 44. If one number, let's say x, is 4 more than 3 times the other, what is the difference between these two numbers? So our final answer will have to be whatever x is and whatever y is, we have to find the difference. We have to subtract them. So first, let's find what x and y is. Having these two equations, I can use substitution and substitute this in here. So my new equation will be 4 plus 3y plus y is equal to 44. I can combine my terms to get that 4 plus 4y is equal to 44. I subtract 4 from both sides, and that will leave me with 4y is equal to 40. I divide both sides by 4, and it turns out that y is equal to 10. Now, this is only one of my values. Now let's get the second value. The second value says that it was 4 more than 3 times the other, which means x will equal to 4 more than 30, which means x is equal to 34. Now, our final answer is the difference between these two numbers. So I'm going to take 34, and I'm going to subtract 10, and my final answer will be that the difference is equal to 24. So hopefully by now, you're feeling very confident. You've made it all the way to level 8, so you've gone through this whole course. I hope you feel confident. I hope that if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. Please don't hesitate to tell us if there's anything we can do to help you. I hope that if you do have any questions, you'll come to class in any of our 4 free live sessions, or you can schedule a one-on-one tutoring session with any of our instructors to go ahead and cover any last-minute things that you feel like you might still be struggling with. Thank you.